Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how you can create this animation by using the Ultimate Clay shader pack for cycles in Eevee. You can find a link to the shader pack in the description. You can get 30% off by using the code 3.do. First let's go to the world properties and set the color to environment texture. I'm going to put a link to the one that I used in the description. Now open a new window here. Go to Asset Browser and go to File, Append. Now go to where you have your clay shader, open this file here and go to Materials and simply press A and Enter. Now as you can see we have the materials here, so let's drag this down. Now let's add a cube and scale it like this, Shift Y, and scale it to 5. Press Ctrl 3 to subdivide it, and now add another subdivision surface. Set this one to simple, and the render to 2. And for this one, let's set both to 3. Now shade smooth, and I'm going to type in space here. I'm going to use this shader, drag and drop it here. Now if you go to rendered view, it's going to look like this. By the way, I'm going to use cycles. Now in the render properties, let's go to film and check transparent. I'm going to move this back like this and add a camera. Shift A camera, Control Alt 0 to go into camera view, and now set it to 1080 by 1080. You can of course choose any resolution that you like. And now let's press GZZ to zoom in like this. I mean move the camera in until the cube covers the entire frame. Now I'm going to add 2 area lights. Let's go to light and area. And I'm going to move this one over here and the other one here. Add an empty. And now let's select this light. Go to the object constraint properties and select track 2. And now select the empty. As you can see, this is going to track the light to the empty. Now let's move it on the Y, like this, and do the same for the other light. Again, track 2 and empty, and move it on the Y. For the one on the bottom, let's set the power to 200 and the color to something yellow. I'm also going to scale it up and maybe move it back in like this so that the cube gets more affected by the light. Now let's set this light and set the power to 300 and again scale it up and move it back in. And I'm going to select a blue color. Now let's hit Shift A and add an icosphere. Under Add icosphere, sorry, set the subdivisions to 3 or 4, and now Control 1 to subdivide it once. For this one I'm going to use the dirt clay shader. Drag and drop it again. As you can see, the fingerprints on the background are bigger than the ones on the planet. To change that, you can either go to the material properties and change the finger scale, or you can just select the cube and press Ctrl A and apply the scale. Now let's add the planet ring. To do that, simply add a circle, scale it up like this, and now let's add a skin modifier. Press Ctrl 3 and go into edit mode, press A and Ctrl A. And now scale it down. I'm going to leave it here. Go back into object mode, shade smooth, and shift select the planet. And now press Ctrl L, link materials. As you can see, this doesn't look too great, so let's select the circle and click on this icon here to duplicate the material. Now under global displacement, let's set that to 0.25. I just noticed that shade smooth doesn't work properly, so let's go to the modifiers and apply the skin modifier. And now if we shade smooth, it should work. Let's also use shade smooth for the planet and rename the icosphere to planet. And rename the circle to planet wing. And let's also name the empty something like light focus. Now select the planet again and duplicate it. Scale it down like this. I'm going to go back into viewport shading for that. Scale it down. And let's place a few of them around the wing with different scales. I'm going to skip that. After you're done, let's go into rendered view and make sure that none of them are intersecting. I'm going to do this in rendered view because of the displacement of the shader. Everything looks fine. In viewport shading, I've selected all of them and now press Shift and select the ring and Ctrl P object. Go into camera view, select the ring and rotate it however you want. By the way, I just noticed that the cube in the background is too small, so let's scale it up and Ctrl A again. As you can see, I forgot to scale the moons randomly, so I'm going to do that real quick. Now go to Delta Transform and copy the X rotation, paste it in here, and do the same for the Y rotation. Paste it in here, and here set it to 0. And on frame 1, keyframe the Z rotation. Go to frame 250, Go here and type in plus 360 and keyframe it again. Now go to the timeline and press T, linear. And now if you press play, we have this loop here. And if you want to change the rotation of the X and Y axis, again, you can do that here. Now select the planet and then the ring and press Ctrl L, animation data. Now it's going to use the same animation that the ring uses. I just noticed that the planet doesn't use the delta transform rotation, so I'm going to copy that from the ring real quick. Now with everything here selected, I'm going to press M and call the collection planet. For the UFO, let's add a circle and move it here. Go into edit mode and press E, set, and move it up. Now let's add a mirror modifier and use the X-axis and enable clipping. Press Ctrl R, add a loop cut and Alt click on this one and press M at center. Now select this loop cut, GG, move it like this and move it down. Also move this vertex down like this. And now let's add a subdivision surface modifier, set that to 3. Add another loop cut here. And let's add 3 more here. You can add more loop cuts by scrolling your mouse wheel. By the way, let's save if you haven't already. So there seems to be a bug with the wireframe because Blender just crashed on me when I pressed set and went to wireframe, but now it seems to work. Just be careful. So in wireframe view, let's go into top view and select these vertices here. Press Ctrl I and Ctrl and deselect these and the one in the middle and delete them. Also delete this one. Now let's mirror the X and Y axis. In viewport shading, select these vertices here, not this one. So these here, here and here. And now let's press GZ to move them in. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but I think it looks cool. Now let's go back into object mode and go into rendered view. Let's save again, and here type in metallic, drag and drop again, and as you can see the displacement is too strong again, so let's set it to 0.25, which is still too strong, so like this. Shade smooth and go into edit mode, select this vertex here and Shift S, cursor to selected, Shift A, add an icosphere. I think we can leave this one at 3 and Control 1, shade smooth, scale it down and Shift select this and press Control L, link materials. Now with this selected, let's select this vertex here, Shift S, cursor to selected, and Shift A, add an icosphere, and press Ctrl 3 with 2 subdivisions here. Shade smooth, scale it down like this. Go into front view and edit mode, set wireframe and delete the bottom. Now move it down like this. Select the icosphere again and duplicate it. Go to the modifiers and add a mirror modifier. Go into top view. And now in edit mode press A, G, X and move it here. And scale it down. Somewhere around here. Back into object mode and press Shift D, R set 90 and select both of them. Go to rendered view and let's delete the material, create a new one and Control L, link materials, move them down like this and make sure they intersect here. I just noticed that 0.1 seems to be too much still, so let's lower that. And around 0.055 seems good. So we can move them up a little more, because the displacement isn't that strong anymore. In the shading tab, let's select one of them and click on new. Delete the principled BSDF and Shift A, emission, Control Shift click it and set the color to something green or whatever you want and the strength to 10. Now Shift select this one and then, not Shift select, sorry, just type in material here, duplicate the material and let's make this one red. Now let's select everything here and Shift select this part here, Control P and object. Now let's hit Shift C to reposition the cursor and Shift A and add an empty plain axis and call it UFO location. Now Shift select this again and Control P, object, and let's press M, new collection, UFO. Now with UFO location selected, let's go into camera view and RZ and rotate it by 90 degrees, minus 90 degrees. As you can see, we cannot get the UFO out of the view of the camera, so let's press 7, select all of this again, not the light, go into camera view again and GX and move it out of the view. Now select the empty again and press I, rotation, go to frame 251 and press with the empty selected, let's press I, rotation, go to frame 251 and RZ 180 and press I again. Now go down here, press T again and set it to linear. Go to frame 125 and select the UFO. And now you can change the rotation if you like. As you can see, something's not working with the parenting. So let's select everything again and Ctrl P, object. And now it should work. Yes. On frame 1, let's keyframe the Z rotation. Again, go to frame 251 and also press T and make sure it's on linear. And type in 360. And now it looks like this. Let's press Ctrl S again and go to rendered view. Now add a cube. Scale it up to 100 for example. And go to shading, go to rendered view again. Now click on new and delete the principled BSDF and type in volume, principled volume, shift click it. And there is a bug in Blender that doesn't display the density, the volume, but if we move the camera, as you can see, it's there. Now let's set the density to 0.1 or maybe 0.01. Yeah, I think 0.01 is okay. Add a Musgrave texture. Plug the height into the color and add a color ramp. Bring the black in like this and the white like this. And set the scale to 10. Add a Musgrave texture, plug the height into the color and set the scale to 10. And also add a color ramp, bring the black in like this and the white like this. So I changed the color ramp to this and set the density back to 0.25. Now let's save again and select the area light up here. And let's set the strength to 3000. That's a little too much, I think. So let's try 1500. I think that's okay. And for the second one, let's set it to 1000. Go to render properties, and I'm going to leave the max samples at 128 with denoise enabled. I'm going to use optics. You can only use it if you have an NVIDIA GPU, but I prefer it. And under color management, let's set it to high contrast. I think that looks better. Now go to Compositing, and I have this simple setup here. You need to enable use nodes and also enable denoising data, and then just add a denoise node. Save again and create an output folder. I already did that, so I'm just gonna paste it in here. And let's call it rendered images. If you put an underscore after the name, Blender is going to automatically assign numbers to the frames. So let's hit enter. I'm going to choose JPEG and set the quality to 100%. Back in layout mode, let's go to the material properties, because we can do one very cool thing with this shader that I wanted to do. And that is to go down here to frame step and let's set this to 10. And now if we press play, we have something like this. You can of course leave this disabled, but I like it. So I'm going to do this for all of the objects here. And also we need to apply the scale for all of the moons, I just noticed that. Now if we play the animation, it will look like this, and I liked it. One more thing that I want to add is depth of field, so I'm going to select the camera, enable depth of field, and set the f-stop to 0.2. Now let's keyframe the distance. Oh, we need to go to frame 1. Under viewport display, enable limits. Now you can see this cursor here, and set the distance to somewhere around here, so that the cursor touches the surface of the planet. Keyframe it again. Duplicate the keyframe and move it to frame 100. Press T, linear. And now let's duplicate this here and move it back here to frame 251, like this again. Go to frame 125. And now let's move the cursor to somewhere around here. Keyframe it again. Now let's go back to frame 1, go into camera view and see what it looks like. I think this looks fine. Save again and let's press Ctrl F12 to render. When it's done rendering, go up to the plus sign here and go to video editing. Make sure you're on frame 1. Set this to FFmpeg video and hover over here and press Ctrl C to copy the location. And now under encoding, set it to MPEG 4, high quality. And now go to frame 1, Shift A, image sequence, and go to the folder and remove the name here, press enter and A. Go to render and render animation again. Now it's going to compile the images into a video. So that's it with the tutorial. I hope you liked it. Remember to check out the links in the description and I'll see you next time.